I asked my husband for a third baby 3 weeks after my second affair, and that question ended our 12-year marriage, though not how you'd expect. You're probably already judging me. I get it. The word affair does that. Triggers something primal. Makes you pick a side before you know the whole story. But I need you to understand something. I wasn't some predator hunting for excitement. I was drowning in my own home, gasping for air, in rooms that felt smaller every day, reaching for anything that felt like being seen, being wanted, being touched without having to beg for it. Marcus had started sleeping in his workout clothes 6 months before I ever crossed that line. Gray cotton t-shirt, black athletic shorts, even socks sometimes, like he was ready to run at any moment, like my skin had become something to protect himself from. The morning coffee ritual died first. That blue ceramic mug he'd bought on our honeymoon in Portland. He used to wait for me every morning, would reheat his coffee twice if I was running late, just so we could have those 15 minutes together before the kids woke up. By last January, I'd find it already rinsed and drying by the sink at 6 a.m. He'd taken to drinking his coffee in the garage, checking emails on his phone while sitting in his car. You want to know what the worst part was? It wasn't the affairs. It wasn't even the divorce. It was the moment I realized I'd been grieving the wrong thing all along. But I'm getting ahead of myself. To understand how asking for a baby became an act of war, you need to know what we were like before. Before the distance, before the workout clothes, before I became someone who could look at my husband across our leather couch and feel like I was bothering him just by existing in the same room. Before I became the kind of woman who counts the days since her husband last touched her without being asked. 47 days, if you're wondering. That was the number when everything finally broke. I should have known when he started setting timers for our conversations. I have 15 minutes before my next call. But back then, I thought we were just busy. I thought we were just tired. I thought a lot of things that turned out to be wrong. We used to be the couple that made other people uncomfortable with how much we touched each other. Not in a gross way, just constant unconscious contact, his hand on my lower back while we waited in line at Whole Foods. My fingers tracing patterns on his forearm during dinner parties. The way he'd pull me onto his lap on that leather couch during movie nights, even when there was plenty of room, his chin resting on my shoulder, breathing in sync. God, that couch. We bought it 3 years into our marriage. This ridiculously expensive cognac leather sectional that cost more than my car. Marcus had insisted on testing 12 different ones, sitting on each for at least 10 minutes, pulling me down next to him, checking if we could both stretch out, if the armrest was the right height for my head when I curled into him. The salesman thought we were insane. "It's the most important piece of furniture we'll ever own," Marcus had said, completely serious. "This is where we'll spend most of our time together." He was right. Every evening after the kids went to bed, we'd collapse onto it, my feet in his lap while he absently massaged them, both of us pretending to watch whatever was on Netflix, but really just decompressing together. He had this thing he'd do with his thumb, pressing into the arch of my foot in exactly the right spot, and I'd make these embarrassing little noises that made him smile without looking away from the screen. Saturday mornings were sacred. No alarms, no phones, until after 10. I'd wake up to find him already awake, propped up on one elbow, just watching me with this expression, like I was something miraculous he'd discovered. "Creeper," I'd mumble, and he'd laugh, low and warm, before kissing me properly awake. Those kisses, unhurried, thorough, like we had all the time in the world. His hand would slide under my tank top, palm flat against my spine, pulling me closer until there was no space between us at all. We had this joke about the bamboo cutting board in our kitchen. Every Sunday, we'd make elaborate brunches together, and inevitably, we'd end up making out against the counter while bacon burned in the pan. The Cutting Board Witness Protection Program. We called it because that poor bamboo board had seen things. He'd press me against the counter, hands on either side of me, and whisper the filthiest things in my ear while scrambling eggs with one hand. I'd threatened to stab him with the spatula. The kids thought we were weird. We were weird. Even grocery shopping was foreplay with us. He'd stand behind me at the freezer section, arms around my waist, debating ice cream flavors with his breath warm on my neck. Old ladies would smile at us. Young couples would look envious. We were that couple. Still stupid in love. After a decade, still couldn't keep our hands off each other. The lavender hand lotion on my nightstand, he bought it because he loved how my hands smelled after I used it. Every night without fail, he'd reach for my hand in the dark, bring it to his face, inhale deeply, then keep holding it while we fell asleep. Sometimes I'd wake up at 3 a.m., and we'd still be connected, fingers interlaced, like our bodies couldn't bear to fully separate, even in unconsciousness. But the thing that really got me, the detail that breaks my heart now, when I think about it, was the coffee routine. Every morning at 6:15, I'd hear him moving around downstairs. The soft clink of the blue mug, the hiss of the espresso machine, then footsteps on the stairs, careful on the creaky third step. He'd set my coffee on the nightstand, splash of oat milk, half a sugar, exactly how I liked it, and kiss my forehead. Morning, beautiful. Every single morning. For 11 years, we fought, sure, about money, about his mother, about my tendency to leave wet towels on the bed, but we fought close, faces inches apart, hands gesturing wildly, but never pulling away completely. And we made up closer. He couldn't stand having unresolved tension between us, neither could I. We'd usually last about an hour before one of us would crack, reaching out with a peace offering. I'm sorry I called your mother an emotional terrorist. I'm sorry I said your towel habits were grounds for divorce. The last time I remember us being truly unselfconsciously happy was May 16th. I know the exact date because it was the day before everything started to change. We were at our neighborhood's spring block party, slightly drunk on mediocre sangria, and he pulled me behind the Johnsons' garage for a kiss that left me dizzy. 12 years, and you still make me feel like a teenager, he'd said, forehead pressed to mine. 36 hours later, he slept in the guest room for the first time. The transition was so subtle, I almost missed it starting. But looking back, that block party was the last time he kissed me like he meant it. The last time his hands on my body felt like worship instead of obligation. I should have paid attention to the first time he turned his face so my kiss landed on his cheek instead of his mouth. But I was tired. We were both tired. That's what we told ourselves. The promotion came with a 40% raise and 60% more travel. Marcus took it without discussing it with me first. Just came home one Tuesday with champagne and this forced smile, announcing it like he'd won the lottery instead of signed us up for slow-motion separation. It's only temporary, he said, not meeting my eyes. 6 months of heavy travel. Then it calms down. 6 months turned into 8. 8 became just through the end of Q3. By the time November rolled around, he was gone 3 weeks out of every 4. And when he was home, he wasn't really home. Conference call starting at 6 a.m. Laptop open during dinner. That iPhone charging cable migrated from our bedroom to the guest room so he wouldn't wake me. With his late night calls to Tokyo. I was drowning at home. 7-year-old with ADHD. 4-year-old going through a hitting phase. My own marketing manager job that somehow everyone forgot was also full-time and demanding. But every time I tried to talk about it, really talk about it, he'd get this look, jaw tight, fingers drumming on whatever surface was nearest. I'm doing this for us, he'd say, for our future. The first time he flinched when I touched him. We were standing in the kitchen. I'd come up behind him while he was making his protein shake, wrapped my arms around his waist like I'd done 1,000 times before. He went rigid, actually stepped forward, breaking the contact. Sorry, he said, not turning around. You startled me. But I hadn't. I'd been talking to him from across the room. My socks on the tile weren't exactly stealthy. He just didn't want me touching him. That's when I started counting. 3 days since the last kiss that wasn't a perfunctory peck. 7 days since he'd initiated any physical contact. 12 days since we'd had sex, and that had been mechanical, efficient, like he was checking off a chore. "You're all over me," he said one night when I curled into him on the couch. Not mean exactly, just exhausted. Like my need for physical connection was another task on his endless list. "Can we just watch the show?" I moved to the other end of the couch. The leather felt cold. My sister Emma called it the sexualization of exhaustion when I tried to explain it to her. "He's turned you into another thing that wants something from him," she said, "instead of someone who wants to give something to him." But that wasn't quite right either. It was more like I'd become a reminder of everything he didn't have energy for. Every time I reached for him, I was highlighting his failure to reach back. My desire became accusation. My need became pressure. The grocery list started splitting in December. Not officially, just his column of protein shakes and pre-workout supplements, my column of actual food. 2 separate Amazon subscriptions. 2 separate meal times. He'd eat standing at the counter, scrolling through emails. I'd eat with the kids, negotiating bites for screen time. "We need to reconnect," I said one night, finding him in the garage at 10 p.m., doing pull-ups on the bar he'd installed without telling me. "I agree," he said, not stopping. "After this project ends." "When does it end?" He dropped from the bar, reaching for his water bottle. "Soon." That was January. By February, he'd stopped pretending there was an end date. The thing about pressure is that it needs release. One way or another, it finds a way out. I started going to the gym at lunch, not to work out, but just to feel like a person who existed outside of being needed. Started wearing perfume again, the one he used to love, hoping he'd notice. He didn't. Started saying yes to after-work drinks with colleagues, staying out past bedtime routines, coming home to find him already asleep in the guest room. "You seem happier," he said one morning, watching me put on lipstick. I wanted to scream because someone at work told me I looked nice yesterday, because the barista remembered my name, because for 5 fucking minutes I felt like something other than a burden. Instead, I said, "Thanks. The new vitamins must be working." He nodded and went back to his phone. Missing the tears I blinked back, missing everything that mattered, missing me, even though I was standing right there. The first affair happened on a Thursday in March in a conference room that smelled like whiteboard markers and someone else's cologne. But the explosion, the moment that actually ended us, came 6 weeks later, on a Sunday morning in our bedroom, with kids' cartoons playing downstairs and spring rain hitting the windows. I need you to understand. I'd already ended the affair, already deleted his number, already requested a different project team, already made my first therapy appointment with Dr. Kim. I was trying to find my way back to Marcus, to us, to whoever we used to be. That's what makes what happened next so much worse. It started with hope. Marcus had slept in our bed for the first time in 3 weeks, a necessity, because his brother was visiting and using the guest room. I woke up to find him still there, not fled to the gym at dawn, not hidden behind his laptop, just there, arm thrown over his eyes against the morning light. I moved slowly, carefully, like approaching a skittish animal, slid closer, millimeter by millimeter, until I could feel his body heat. Put my hand on his chest, feeling his heartbeat under my palm. He didn't pull away. "Morning," I whispered. "Morning," he said, arm still over his eyes. I kissed his shoulder. Still no retreat. Kissed his neck, that spot below his ear that used to make him groan. His breathing changed. Deeper, intentional. My heart was hammering. This was it. We were finding our way back. I moved over him, straddling his hips, hands on either side of his head. "I miss you," I said. That's when he opened his eyes, and the look in them, God, I'll never forget it. Not anger, not even disgust exactly. It was exhaustion, resignation, like I was a task he'd been putting off that had finally come due. Sarah, he said, and my name sounded like an apology. Please, I said. I actually said please, begging my own husband to want me. It's been 47 days. You're counting? Aren't you? He closed his eyes again, put his hands on my hips, but not to pull me closer, to lift me off him, to set me aside like a box he needed to move. I can't, he said. Can't or won't? Does it matter? Yes, it fucking matters. He sat up, scooting back against the headboard, putting distance between us even though we were still on the same bed. The bed where we'd conceived our children. The bed where he used to trace patterns on my skin for hours. The bed that now felt like a hostile territory. You're always grabbing at me, he said, voice low but sharp. Always needing, always wanting. It's like you're hungry all the time, and I'm the only food source. He stopped himself, but I saw the word forming on his lips. Saw him swallow it back. Say it, I said. Sarah, say it. It's suffocating, he said, but that wasn't the word he'd stopped himself from saying, and we both knew it. That's not what you were going to say. He stood up, started pulling on those fucking workout clothes from the chair beside the bed, gray t-shirt, black shorts, armor against me. What were you going to say, Marcus? Nothing. What were you going to say? He turned to face me, and for 1 second, the mask slipped. For 1 second, I saw how he really saw me. Desperate, he said. You're desperate, and it's disgusting, okay? The way you look at me, the way you count days, the way you beg for it. It's disgusting. The word hit like a physical blow. Disgusting? Not the sex, not the desire. Me. I was disgusting to him. I laughed. Actually laughed this horrible broken sound that didn't even sound like me. Disgusting, I repeated. Wanting my husband makes me disgusting. I didn't mean get out. Sarah, get out! He left, grabbed his gym bag and keys and left. I heard his car start in the garage, heard the automatic door open and close, heard the kids downstairs asking where Daddy went. I sat on our bed for 20 minutes, staring at the wedding photo on my nightstand. We looked so young, so sure, so fucking stupid about what forever actually meant. Then I got up, got dressed, and went downstairs to make pancakes for my kids. Added chocolate chips, because why not? Let them eat in front of the TV, because rules didn't seem to matter anymore. Posted a photo on Instagram of their sticky smiles with some bullshit caption about Sunday mornings are for breaking rules. Marcus liked the photo from his phone, from wherever he'd run to. That's how far apart we'd gotten. He could heart a photo of our children, but couldn't touch their mother without revulsion. The second affair started 3 days later, and 3 weeks after that, I asked him for another baby. I know how it sounds. I know exactly how it sounds. The choreography of avoidance is more complex than you'd think. Marcus came home that night at exactly 8:47 p.m., after bedtime stories, after dishes, after any chance of required interaction. He'd perfected the timing over the next 3 months, early enough that the kids wouldn't wonder why Daddy never tucked them in, late enough that I'd have retreated to the bedroom with my book and wine. We became expertly polite strangers operating a shared household. I'll be traveling Tuesday through Friday. He'd text me from the guest room down the hall. Not tell me. Text me. Okay. Parent-teacher conference is Thursday. I'd text back, I'll dial in. Thanks. This is what we'd become. 2 people who said thanks for things that should have been automatic. Thanks for picking up milk. Thanks for remembering trash day. Thanks for pretending we weren't dying inside our own home. The coffee ritual morphed into something unrecognizable. He still made it, every morning, same time, but now he'd leave mine on the counter in a travel mug. Still the right amount of oat milk, still half a sugar, but in a container that implied movement, distance, departure. The blue ceramic mug sat untouched in the cabinet, gathering dust behind the protein shaker bottles. He installed a mini fridge in the guest room. Didn't discuss it, didn't announce it, just came home one Saturday, with it in his trunk. I watched from the kitchen window as he struggled to get it up the stairs alone, rather than ask for help. The metaphor was so obvious it hurt. Daddy's room has a refrigerator, our 4-year-old announced at dinner. Can I have one too? Maybe when you're older, Marcus said, not looking at me. When I'm 7 like Theo? Maybe. Maybe. Everything was maybe now. Maybe we'll take that vacation. Maybe we'll fix the garage door. Maybe we'll survive this. The grocery list on the fridge became a study in parallel lives. His column. Protein powder, pre-workout, those awful sugar-free energy drinks, frozen meals for one. Mine, actual ingredients for actual meals I ate alone after feeding the kids. We'd even stopped buying the same brand of toothpaste. But it was the physical absence that killed me. Not sex, I'd given up on that after disgusting, but the casual touches that make you feel human. The hand on the shoulder while reaching for a mug, the fingers that fix a piece of hair, the unconscious lean when standing together. He'd actively dodge now. I'd reach for a plate, he'd step back. I'd hand him mail. He'd wait for me to set it down first. Once, our hands accidentally touched reaching for the TV remote, and he jerked back like I'd burned him. Jesus, Sarah, sorry, he said, and that sorry was worse than the flinch. My friend Jess noticed at book club in April. You keep touching your own arms, she said after 2 glasses of wine. Like you're cold, but it's 70 degrees. Just tired, I said. When's the last time Marcus gave you a real hug? She asked, and the question hit so hard I had to excuse myself to the bathroom to cry. The answer was 93 days. But who was counting anymore? Dr. Kim, my new therapist, had this way of tilting her head when I lied to her. How are things at home? She'd ask, and I'd say better, and she'd do the head tilt. Define better, she said during our 3rd session. We're not fighting. Are you talking? We communicate about logistics. That's not what I asked. I stared at the ceiling, at the water stain that looked like a rabbit. He installed a mini fridge in the guest room. How does that make you feel? Like I'm contagious. She wrote something in her notebook. Do you think you might be? What? Contagious? Your unhappiness? Do you think he's trying to protect himself from catching it? I wanted to throw something at her perfectly composed face. Instead, I said, he's the one who made me unhappy. Is he? Or is he just the one who stopped medicating it? That session ended with me ugly crying into her eco-friendly tissues while she calmly noted we were out of time. May was when the pretense started cracking. His brother called during dinner, speakerphone, because Marcus was feeding Theo while I handled Lily. How are you guys doing? David asked. Great, Marcus said, the same moment I said, fine. The silence that followed was deafening. Okay, David drew out. That sounds super convincing. We're just tired, Marcus said, shooting me a look that said, please don't. Right, tired, for 6 months. After Marcus hung up, we stood in the kitchen, not looking at each other. We can't keep doing this, I said. I know. So what do we do? He loaded his single plate into the dishwasher. I don't know. That night, I heard him on the phone in the guest room, voice low but urgent. It's not working, I heard him say. No, not that. Everything. The whole thing. I pressed my ear to the wall, like a teenager, desperate for scraps of honesty he wouldn't give me directly. I can't explain it, he continued. It's like, you know when you're allergic to something, but you don't know it yet, and you keep eating it because it's supposed to be good for you. But it makes you feel worse and worse until finally someone tells you that you're allergic, And suddenly, everything makes sense. It's like that. I was the allergen. I was the thing that was supposed to be good for him, but was making him sick. I went back to our room, my room now, really, and stared at that fucking lavender hand lotion on the nightstand. He used to love how it smelled. Now, he couldn't even stand to be in the same room when I used it. The kids started acting out in June. Theo's teacher called about behavioral concerns. Lily went back to wetting the bed. They felt the vacuum where love used to live, even if they couldn't name it. "Daddy, why don't you and Mommy hug anymore?" Lily asked one morning while Marcus was packing lunches and I was signing permission slips. We froze, both of us, like deer caught in headlights. "We hug," Marcus lied smoothly. "You just don't see it." "When?" "When you're asleep." "That's weird," Theo chimed in. "Why would you only hug when we're sleeping?" "Eat your cereal," I said, because I couldn't think of anything else. Later, after drop-off, we sat in our separate cars in the school parking lot, texting each other from 10 feet away. "We need to tell them something," I wrote. "Not yet," he replied. "When?" "Soon." "Soon. Maybe. Later." Our new vocabulary of avoidance. My mother visited that weekend. Took one look at the guest room setup, the separate groceries, the way we moved around each other like magnets with matching poles, and pulled me aside. "What the hell is happening here?" "Nothing. We're fine." "Sarah Elizabeth, do not insult my intelligence." "Mom, please. That man looks at you like you're furniture." "Uncomfortable furniture." "Thanks. That's really helpful." She grabbed my hands, and I realized it was the first time anyone had touched me intentionally in weeks. I almost started crying right there in my own kitchen. "Sweetheart," she said softer. "What happened?" "I became disgusting to him," I said, and the words came out so matter-of-fact that she actually stepped back. "That's not, men don't just, what did you do?" And there it was. What did you do? Because it had to be my fault, right? I was the one who changed, who became too much, too needy, too desperate, too disgusting. "I wanted my husband to want me," I said. "Apparently, that's unforgivable." The revelation came in a Pilates class, of all places. I'd started going in the evenings, desperate to fill the hours between kids' bedtime and my own. It was Wednesday, late June, and the instructor, this impossibly cheerful woman named Bree, was guiding us through something called heart openers. "Feel the stretch across your chest," she said. "This is where we hold our grief, let it release." And I just broke. Right there, on a purple yoga mat in a strip mall studio surrounded by suburban women in Lululemon, I started sobbing so hard I couldn't breathe. Bree knelt beside me, hand on my back, the first non-transactional touch I'd felt in months. "It's okay," she whispered. "This happens more than you'd think." In the lobby after, she handed me a business card. Not hers. Dr. Kim's. "She helped me through my divorce," Bree said simply. "The body keeps score, but sometimes we need help reading the tally." I'd been seeing Dr. Kim for 3 months already, but that next session was different. I walked in, ready to actually tell the truth. "I'm having an affair," I said before I even sat down. Had. 2, actually. "The second one ended last week." She didn't flinch. "Okay. That's it. Okay?" "What would you like me to say?" "That I'm horrible. That I'm destroying my family. That I'm disgusting?" The word hung between us like a blade. "He's right, isn't he?" I said. "I am disgusting. I'm cheating on my husband because he won't fuck me. How pathetic is that?" "Is that why you're cheating?" "Yes. He hasn't touched me in—" "No," she interrupted me, which she never did. "That's what you tell yourself." "But is that really why?" I stared at that stupid rabbit stain on her ceiling. "I don't understand." "When did touch become taking?" "What?" She leaned forward. "You said Marcus feels like you're always grabbing at him. When did receiving touch become something you had to take instead of something freely given? When he stopped giving it. And when you take it from someone else, these affairs, does it feel like receiving or taking? I thought about conference room guy, about the way he'd looked at me like I was a gift, about bachelor number 2 who'd traced my spine like he was reading Braille. Receiving, I whispered. So it's not really about sex, is it? The word stuck in my throat. No. What is it about? Being wanted. The admission came out broken. I need to be wanted. Not tolerated. Not accommodated. Wanted. And Marcus? Marcus wants me to disappear. She made a note. Does he? Or does he want the pressure to disappear? What's the difference? One is about you as a person. The other is about what you represent to him right now. Obligation, failure, the gap between what he can give and what you need. So, I'm not disgusting. Sarah, when a plant isn't thriving, we don't blame the plant. We check if it's getting enough sun, enough water, the right soil. You've been trying to survive in emotional drought conditions. The affairs weren't about Marcus at all. They were about rain. That's very poetic, but I still betrayed him. Yes, she agreed, you did, but betrayal and survival aren't mutually exclusive. Sometimes they're the same desperate act. That night, I found Marcus in the garage, reorganizing tools that were already organized. We need help, I said. He didn't look up. I know. Professional help. Okay. You agree? He finally met my eyes, and for the first time in months, I saw something other than exhaustion. I saw fear. Sarah, he said quietly, I don't think I can find my way back to you. I don't even remember the way anymore. Then we draw a new map. What if there's nowhere to go? Then at least we'll know. He nodded, went back to his tools. But he didn't say no. It was progress. Microscopic, painful progress. We made it to exactly 1.5 couples therapy sessions. The first session was on a Tuesday morning in July. Marcus sat as far from me as the couch would allow, arms crossed, jaw set, like he was awaiting execution. The therapist, not Dr. Kim, someone neutral named Richard, had us each explain why we were there. My wife is unhappy, Marcus said. My husband finds me repulsive, I said. Richard blinked. Well, we're starting honest. That's good. For 50 minutes we talked around each other, past each other, through Richard like he was a translator for 2 people who'd forgotten. They spoke the same language. Marcus used words like pressure, and space, and exhausted. I used words like abandoned, and starving, and invisible. When did physical intimacy become a problem? Richard asked. When it became a demand, Marcus said. When it became a chore, I said at the same time. We scheduled a follow-up for the next week, made it 15 minutes. I need to be honest, Marcus said, cutting Richard off mid-sentence about communication strategies. This isn't going to work. The therapy? Richard asked. No. Marcus looked at me for the first time that session. Us. We're not going to work. The words should have been shocking. They weren't. Why? I asked, even though I knew. We're not sexually compatible, he said, each word careful, deliberate. We want fundamentally different things. You mean you don't want me? I mean I can't want you the way you need to be wanted. Richard tried to intervene. Often, desire discrepancy can be addressed through. She cheated, Marcus said flatly. Twice. The silence that followed was deafening. Richard's pen stopped moving. I stopped breathing. I know, Marcus continued, still looking at me. I've known since the first one. The conference room guy? Your phone syncs to the iPad, Sarah. You texted your sister about it. My stomach dropped through the floor. You never said? What was the point? You were getting what you needed. I was getting space. We were both pretending it was sustainable. Is this something you want to work through? Richard asked carefully. Marcus laughed, this bitter, exhausted sound. She asked me for another baby last week. after 2 affairs. She asked me to put a baby in her. Marcus, do you know how that felt? He turned to me fully now, like you were asking me to sign up for another 18 years of this, of you needing and me failing and both of us drowning. I thought a baby would what? Make me want you? Make me stay? Make us forget that we have become poison to each other? Poison seems strong, Richard attempted. Is it? Marcus asked him. She's so desperate for touch. She's fucking strangers. I'm so desperate for space. I installed a mini fridge to avoid the kitchen. We're texting each other from inside the same house. Our kids think this is what marriage looks like. Tell me that's not poison. I wanted to fight back, to scream that he'd driven me to this, that his coldness came first, that I was drowning long before I grabbed onto someone else to stay afloat. Instead, I said, "So what do? We stop," he said simply. We just stop. Stop what? Pretending this is fixable. Pretending we're not already done. Pretending we're not staying together for everyone except ourselves. Richard cleared his throat. I'd encourage you not to make any permanent decisions in a moment of high emotion. I'm not emotional, Marcus said, and the terrifying thing was he was right. He was calm, resolved. I haven't been emotional about this marriage in months. That's the whole problem. So you want a divorce, I said. I want to stop hurting each other, he said. Whatever that looks like. I stood up. There was nothing left to say. Not in front of Richard, not in that beige office with its meaningless certificates and tissue boxes strategically placed for moments exactly like this. Sarah, Marcus called as I reached the door. I turned. I'm sorry, he said, for making you feel disgusting. You're not. You never were. I can't. I know, I said, and I did. Finally, I actually did. The lawyers made everything real in a way that therapy couldn't. Marcus hired Catherine Chen, who apparently specialized in high-asset amicable divorces. I got Bradley something or other from a billboard because that's where I was emotionally. Taking legal advice from the side of a highway. Any prenup? Bradley asked during our first meeting, shuffling through the papers I'd brought. No. Infidelity? I hesitated. Yes, him or you. Me. He looked up from his papers. Documented? He knows. He has texts. But no photos, videos, admissions in writing? I just told you I admitted it. To him, but not legally. There's a difference. California is no fault, so it doesn't matter anyway. But he could make things difficult if he wanted. He won't. They all say that. Then they see the asset division. But Marcus didn't make it difficult. He made it surgical. Every communication went through the lawyers now. Even pickup times for the kids got filtered through Catherine Chen's paralegal. We were paying $400 an hour for someone to text. Marcus can get them at 3 instead of 2:30. The house became a crime scene we both still lived in. He'd already sectioned off his things, labeled boxes in the garage, half the closet cleared, that fucking mini fridge humming away like a countdown timer. I found myself cataloging what was mine. His, ours, the leather couch, ours, but he could have it. The blue coffee mug, his. But I wanted it. Why? Spite and nostalgia? Some pathological need to hurt myself with memories. August was social media hell. I became that person, checking his profiles obsessively, looking for signs of what? That he was miserable, happy, dating? He'd changed his relationship status to nothing, just blank, which was somehow worse than divorced. At least divorced was definitive. Blank was erasure. His Instagram stayed dormant for 3 weeks. Then suddenly, a photo of a sunrise from a hiking trail we'd never been to. Caption, new paths. 47 likes in an hour. Comments from coworkers, his brother. Names I didn't recognize. Looking good, man. About time. Nature therapy is the best therapy. I threw my phone across the room. It survived. I wished it hadn't. Mommy, why don't you and Daddy eat dinner together anymore? Lily asked one night while I was cutting her chicken into increasingly smaller pieces, trying to buy time. We eat at different times now. Why? Because we like different foods. No, you don't. You both like spaghetti. 7-year-old logic is ruthless. Sometimes people change, I said. Did Daddy change or did you? Both. We both changed. Can you change back? I looked at my daughter, at her impossibly long eyelashes and her father's eyes, and lied. Maybe. The financial untangling was worse than I'd expected. Joint accounts, credit cards, the mortgage, car loans, 12 years of intertwined everything. Bradley had me make spreadsheets, document every expense, justify every purchase. The Pilates membership stays, I told him when he questioned the expense. It's $300 a month. It's the only thing keeping me sane. That's what everyone says about everything. Wine club, golf membership, therapy. The Pilates stays. He made a note. Your husband? Ex. Not yet. Legally, he's still... The Pilates fucking stays, Bradley. September brought the real estate agent. Marcus had already signed the papers. The house would go on the market in October. Great time to sell, she chirped, walking through rooms where we'd built a life, talking about staging and curb appeal and neutral colors for broad market appeal. The kids' rooms, I started. Oh, we'll depersonalize those. Buyers want to imagine their own children there. Depersonalize. Like we were stains to be painted over. I started apartment hunting. Everything was either too expensive, or too far from the kids' school, or too small, or too much like giving up. I'd walk through empty units, trying to imagine Theo's Lego collection in that corner, Lily's art supplies by that window, my life compressed into 900 square feet. It's temporary, my mother said during one of her inspection visits. Just until you get back on your feet. What if I don't? Don't what? Get back on my feet. What if this is it? What if I'm that woman? 34, divorced, 2 kids, starting over in a shitty apartment, pretending everything's fine while stalking her ex on Instagram. Then you be that woman until you're not. When does that happen? When you stop asking when it happens. Marcus started going out Friday nights. Team building, he told the kids, but I could smell cologne when he picked them up Saturday mornings. Not his usual one, something new, something that didn't smell like us. Daddy has a friend, Theo announced one Saturday. She has a dog. My chest cracked open. That's nice. Can we get a dog? Maybe. Maybe. I'd become him, speaking in possibilities instead of promises, future tense instead of present. I saw her before I saw him. October 15th, 8:47 a.m. at our Starbucks, the one on 5th Street where we used to get weekend lattes before the farmer's market. I was in the drive-through line when I spotted her through the window. Tall, athletic build, one of those messy buns that actually takes 40 minutes to look that effortless. She was laughing at something on her phone, head thrown back, completely unselfconscious. Then Marcus walked up behind her with 2 drinks. Not to her. Behind her, hand on her lower back, that exact spot where he used to rest his hand on me, right where spine meets hip. Thumb automatically finding the dimple there. She turned into him, natural as breathing, and took her drink without looking, like she knew exactly which one was hers. They moved to the corner table, our table, the one by the window, where we'd planned Lily's birthday party and argued about refinancing and shared cranberry scones, even though neither of us really liked them. She touched his face, not sexually, just touched it. Fingers along his jaw while she was talking, like she was making a point about something. He didn't flinch, didn't pull back, didn't go rigid. He leaned into it, actually smiled, that real smile where his eyes crinkle, the one I hadn't seen in a year. The car behind me honked. I'd been sitting at the speaker for God knows how long. Kelsey the barista, asking repeatedly if I was ready to order. I pulled out of line and parked across the street like a stalker. Like exactly what I was. They sat there for 23 minutes. I know because I watched every second. She had this way of tucking her hair behind her ear when she was listening. Really listening, not just waiting for her turn to talk. He was animated, using his hands to tell some story, and she kept interrupting with questions that made him laugh. When had he stopped laughing at home? When had I stopped making him laugh? She wore running clothes. Real ones, not the aspirational Athleta stuff I bought and never sweated in. Her shoes had actual dirt on them. There was a Nike app open on her phone that she showed him, comparing something, probably routes or times or whatever, people who actually enjoy exercise talk about. That's when it clicked. She wasn't his opposite of me. She was his actual match. Someone who got up at 5 a.m. because she wanted to, not because she was avoiding sleeping next to someone. Someone who owned a mini fridge for protein shakes, not exile. Someone who touched without taking. They stood to leave, and that's when I saw it. She was wearing his college sweatshirt, the Berkeley one with the hole in the left elbow that I tried to throw away a dozen times. It hung on her like it used to hang on me. Before I had babies, before my body became something familiar instead of something discovered. He held the door for her, automatic, unconscious. She walked through without acknowledgement because she didn't need to acknowledge it. It was expected, normal, the bare minimum of consideration that had become extraordinary in our marriage. In the parking lot, she stopped at a Subaru with a bike rack. Of course she had a bike rack. He said something that made her laugh again, then kissed her goodbye. Not passionately, just easily, like kissing her was as simple as breathing. I watched him watch her drive away. The look on his face. Christ, I'd forgotten he could look like that. Peaceful, present, like he was exactly where he wanted to be. My phone buzzed. Text from him. Can you do pickup today? Something came up. I stared at the message, then at him, getting into his car 50 feet away, oblivious to my presence. Something came up. Someone who made him smile at 9 a.m. on a Saturday. Someone who wore his clothes better than memories. Someone who wasn't me. Sure, I texted back. Thanks. Tell the kids I'll see them tomorrow. Tomorrow. When he'd smell like her shower gel instead of our hand soap. When Theo would mention the woman with the dog again. When Lily would ask why Daddy was so happy. I drove home the long way, past the apartment I'd probably rent, already composing the lies I'd tell myself about being fine. The mediation was scheduled for November 3rd, but Marcus showed up at the house the night before. First time he'd used his key in months. I heard it in the lock while I was packing the kitchen, dividing plates like we were splitting children. 4 for him, 4 for me. The good knife set to him because he actually cooked. The stand mixer to me because I was the one who'd pretend to bake for school events. We need to talk, he said from the doorway. I didn't turn around. Our lawyers would disagree. Fuck the lawyers. That made me turn. Marcus didn't say fuck. Marcus said, frustrating and challenging, in other sanitized substitutes, you saw us. And he said, at Starbucks. Rachel told me she felt like someone was watching. Rachel. Her name was Rachel. It's a free country. Sarah, what do you want, Marcus? He moved into the kitchen, leaned against the counter we'd installed together. Badly, the weekend after we moved in. I want you to know it's not about her. Really? Because it looked pretty much about her when she was touching your face. The divorce. It's not because of her. I met her after I'd already filed. Congratulations. You waited a whole 6 weeks. That's not... He stopped, reset. I need you to understand something. I understand perfectly. You found someone who fits better. Someone easier. Someone who doesn't disgust you. Stop. The word came out sharp. Stop using that word like a weapon. You gave me the weapon. I was cruel. I was wrong. But Sarah... He took a breath. You wanted my body, not my boundaries. The words landed like a slap, the golden quote I'd been waiting for, the perfect summary of our collapse, and it came from him. That's not, isn't it? He stepped closer, but not threatening. Just tired. Every time I said no, you heard, convince me. Every time I said I needed space, you heard, try harder. You didn't want me. You wanted the version of me that wanted you. I wanted my husband. No, you wanted the husband from 3 years ago. The one who hadn't been promoted, wasn't traveling, wasn't burning out. You wanted the past, and when I couldn't give it to you, you found it somewhere else. My hands were shaking. You abandoned me first. I abandoned us. He corrected. There's a difference. I pulled away from the marriage. You pulled other people into it. Because I was drowning. So was I. The volume surprised both of us. He never yelled. Even now, it wasn't really yelling, just exhaustion, finally finding voice. I was drowning in that job, in the pressure, in trying to be everything for everyone. And instead of throwing me a line, you added weight. Your need, your counting days, your constant reaching. It was like being grabbed by someone drowning and pulled under with them. So you just let go. I tried to swim to shore first. The guest room, the boundaries, the space. I was trying to get strong enough to come back. But you didn't. No, he said quietly, because every time I got close, you'd grab again, harder, more desperate, until I realized the only way to save myself was to get out of the water entirely. We stood there in our kitchen, soon to be someone else's kitchen, surrounded by half-packed boxes and 12 years of detritus. I loved you, I said. I know. Do you love her? Rachel? He considered this. I like who I am with her. Who's that? Someone who can say no without feeling guilty. Someone who can say yes without feeling obligated. The honesty of it was brutal. The kids will be fine. Better than fine. They'll see what healthy looks like eventually. With other people. You really believe that? I have to. He left through the front door this time. Properly, like a guest who'd overstayed. I heard his car start, heard it fade down the street toward his new apartment, toward Rachel, toward whoever he was becoming without me. The house sold in 3 days. Cash offer, as is, close in 2 weeks. I'm writing this from my new apartment. 2nd floor, pool view if you squint. Dishwasher that sounds like it's gargling gravel. The kids are with Marcus this weekend. Their first overnight at his new place. Lily FaceTimed me earlier to show me Rachel's dog. She's so soft, Mommy. Behind her, I could see Marcus cooking dinner. Real food, from scratch. Rachel was probably just out of frame, probably wearing that Berkeley sweatshirt, probably belonging there, in a way I never quite did. The blue ceramic mug sits on my kitchen shelf. I took it during the final walkthrough, slipped it into my purse while the realtor was checking the garage. Marcus had left it behind, forgotten or intentionally abandoned. I'll never know which. I haven't used it. Can't bring myself to put coffee in it, like that would be the final betrayal. It just sits there between my mismatched Target glasses, holding nothing. The lavender hand lotion traveled with me too, but not by choice. Found it this morning in a box labeled Bathroom Miss. The bottle's almost empty now. Maybe 3 pumps left. I opened it, held it to my nose, and for 1 second, I was back in our bed with his hand in mine, breathing synchronized, believing that kind of intimacy was permanent. I threw it away, then retrieved it from the trash, then set it on the windowsill where it sits now, catching afternoon light, neither kept nor discarded. Dr. Kim asked me yesterday what I'd learned. That you can't make someone want you, I said. What else? That disgusting isn't about the person feeling it. It's about the person saying it. And that sometimes the cruelest thing you can do to someone is need them when they have nothing left to give. She did her head tilt. Is that cruel or is it human? Both. That's the whole problem. My Instagram post from this morning. picture of coffee in a paper cup from a new cafe. Laptop open to a blank document. Caption. Chapter 2. New beginnings, Jodo growth mindset, Shechua authentic self. 43 likes. 7 comments about being brave. 1 from my sister. Proud of you. 1 from Emma who wrote simply, the light looks good on you. Marcus didn't like it. He doesn't follow me anymore. But his brother did, which means Marcus saw it, which means something I can't quite name and won't examine. The kids will be home tomorrow at 4. I'll make spaghetti because we all like spaghetti, even if we can't eat it together anymore. They'll tell me about Rachel's dog and Daddy's new apartment, and I'll smile and say, that sounds nice, and mean it, because it does sound nice, for them, for him, for everyone who isn't holding an empty mug, counting backward from 47 to 0, learning that sometimes the end of love looks like a mini fridge humming in an empty room. Sometimes it looks like freedom, just not yours.